This is the Architect Lab, the School of Sovereign Thinkers, a place where the mind remembers how to govern themselves. There are moments when you look back on your life and you finally understand something you never had the language for. For me, that moment came when I realized something simple, yet devastating. I wasn't corrected for making mistakes, I was corrected for the skill. When I was young, I asked questions constantly, not to be disruptive, not to challenge my teachers, but because my mind wanted to understand how things worked. Having a curious mind wasn't celebrated, it wasn't nurtured, and it wasn't guided. It was treated like a problem. School didn't feel like learning, it felt more like a performance. If I didn't memorize fast enough, if I didn't sit still long enough, if I didn't follow every instruction without deviation, I wasn't corrected, I was punished. And over time, something happened that I didn't realize until decades later. I learned how to doubt my own mind. Not because I was incapable, but because I was made to believe that curiosity was inconvenient. Public school is not built for thinkers, it's built for compliance. It rewards memorization, repetition, internal authority, and the standardized pace. And it pushes divergent curiosity, nonlinear learning, sovereign questioning, and internal coherence. As children, we don't interpret punishment philosophically, we interpret as identity. If the system keeps telling a curious mind that it is disruptive, a child eventually concludes that they are defective. Not less intelligent, just less acceptable. And this is how domestication begins. A child does not lose intelligence, they lose internal authority. They stop asking questions not because they don't have them, but because they've learned that curiosity has consequences. They stop building inner models not because they're incapable, but because nobody teaches them how. They stop trusting their internal compass not because they're unwise, but because the environment trains them to outsource identity. The tragedy isn't arrogance. The tragedy is dependent thinking. A few months ago, something began to shift inside me. I was building systems, researching cosmology, following patterns, and I started to realize something I wasn't prepared for. I didn't need institutional permission to think. I didn't need a degree to explore the universe. I didn't need an advisor to validate my equations. I didn't need a committee to certify my curiosity. I just needed coherence. Once I understood that internal coherence is the birthplace of scientific authority, everything changed. I began writing cosmology papers, not summaries, not commentary, an original framework. I published them publicly. I took responsibility for every equation, every prediction, and every idea. And with every paper, something became clear. I'd been capable all along. Not chosen, not gifted, just finally undomesticated. When I finally understood this, I broke down. Not because I felt proud, but because for the first time, I could see the cost. I wasn't born uncertain. I was trained to doubt myself. And nobody around me meant harm. The system itself just didn't know how to nurture sovereign minds. I grieved for the years that I believed I wasn't smart enough. All that time, my mind wasn't broken. It was simply never allowed to govern itself. And then something even harder hit me. Millions of children experience the same injury, and they never recover from it. I'm a parent, and when I look at my child, I see something that I didn't see in myself at that age. A mind that is alive, curious, unfiltered, and full of patterns. I will not let that mind be domesticated. Curiosity is not disruption. Curiosity is vitality. A child should not be punished for thinking beyond the frame. Identity must not be outsourced to a school system. It must be cultivated internally. Sovereignty isn't a trait. It isn't something you're born with. It's a muscle. It's a discipline. It's a birthright. And I refuse to let my child pay the cost that I paid. This is why I founded the Architect Lab, the School of Sovereign Thinkers. Not as entertainment, not as rebellion, and not as an ideology. The Architect Lab exists for a simple reason: to rebuild sovereign thinking one mind at a time. Sovereignty isn't political, it is epistemic. A sovereign mind does not memorize, it understands. It does not defer, it constructs. It does not obey, it inquires. It does not need permission, it needs coherence. A sovereign thinker is someone who does not outsource identity or curiosity to external systems. They build their understanding eternally and rigorously. This school is not trying to convert or indoctrinate anyone. It's trying to restore the human mind to its original condition: alive, coherent, curious, and internally governed. My job is not to tell you what to think. My job is to show you how to think without outsourcing your authority. Not as a guru, not as an expert, and not as an entertainer, but as someone who has walked the long road from domesticated curiosity back into sovereign inquiry. And if I can make that journey visible, maybe someone who watches this will feel their mind loosen and remember what they were before they learned to suppress themselves. I remember the cost, and I will not allow it again.